All right, so now let's move on to our keynote speaker. A little intro on her. In January 2005, NTanya Lee became the executive director of Coleman Advocates for Children, a prominent advocacy organization for youth and families in San Francisco. NTanya encouraged the Coleman board, parents, and youth leaders in launching a 5-year strategic plan that deepens their commitment to low to moderate income families. Also, it gives a new focus on education, racial and economic equity, and affordable housing for all San Francisco families. Coleman has developed a membership of 400 families based primarily in the city's southeast region. In addition, Coleman won a $10 million city budget campaign for rental assistance, child care, violence prevention, and job training services. Coleman has created a new public dialogue about the impact of gentrification on low to moderate income families and children of color. To moderate. We are very honored to have this prominent and talented woman be our keynote speaker this evening. Please join me in welcoming NTanya Lee.
Good evening. I'm a little short here. So no one told me I was going to have to follow this emotional and passionate speech from the founder. But it's really an honor to be here and to be allowed in this circle, in this community of folks that I get a sense already from talking to many of you that is very deeply special to the folks in the room. So it's really an honor to be here. As she said, my name's NTanya. I'm the Executive Director of Coleman Advocates for Children and Youth here in San Francisco. And I want to tell you a little bit about Coleman, but really I want to tell you about my own journey into leadership. And I'm almost 40 now, and I have learned a few things that I want to share with you. I guess I just want to start, so let me tell you quick about Coleman and where we are right now. As someone who's the second generation of organizational leadership in my organization, I followed the 26-year, essentially the founder of Coleman, and was the executive director after her. And we, as the next generation of leadership, as the young blood coming in, we really took a pause and we reflected on our mission, our work over 30 years. We've done some incredible pioneering work to basically put the issues facing low-income children on the map in San Francisco to ensure that there's guaranteed funding for young people and after-school programs and programs like summer search and youth employment and child care and things that our families need. We've over 30 years, won almost $200 million on behalf of low-income children in San Francisco. It's pretty outstanding. Pretty outstanding. And I came into Coleman at a time when the census report had just come out that San Francisco now had the smallest child population of any urban city in the country. And so we had to stop and think, well, you know, excuse my French, but what the hell's the point of having $200 million of children's services and no children? So, you know, we had to continue to be creative and rethink. And this brought us to, we basically talked to 2,000 families all over San Francisco about what was really going on. And people said, if Coleman Advocates for Children and Youth is to stay relevant, you need to tackle the affordable housing issue. People can't afford to live here. You need to tackle the education issue because the education system here is not producing children who can go to college and gain access to the high-wage jobs that San Francisco is growing. And that's not okay. And we said, all right, well, let's shift our focus and focus there. And we've been doing outstanding work in that direction. But it took me a long time to get to the point where I felt like I could be bold and take command of an organization with the legacy that we have. I come from a family, I was raised by a single mom, and she struggled every day to make ends meet. When I was 9 years old, she sat us down. I was a very happy kid. This was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and this is where she's from, and I got to run around and, you know, explore and be adventurous, and she sat me down with my little brother one day and said, I'm sending you to live with your grandparents. Because for my whole life, she'd been trying to get ahead, she'd been trying to go to college, she'd been trying to get off welfare, she'd been trying, and it wasn't working. And so she, as a mom, made this painful decision that what it was going to take for her was to actually send us away so that she could go to school full time. Now, as a 9-year-old, do you think I understood that? No. I didn't understand that at all as a 9-year-old. And that was a really, really tough year for me. And that year actually launched my lifelong quest to understand, why are things that way? Why is it so hard for a mom to raise her kids? This is a woman who's worked all the time. She was a hard worker, brilliant and talented. Why was it so hard for us to make ends meet and get food on the table? I didn't understand. Why was it so hard? It didn't make any sense to me. And I didn't know other families whose moms had to send them away just so they could try to get ahead. Now fast forward to high school. I didn't grow up with my dad, but in 10th grade I decided to live with him. And it was a whole nother world. My dad is a physician. While my mom and I had been struggling, he'd gone off to medical school, had become a cardiologist at Yale Medical School. And I went from a poor black kid who was ignored in school and tracked in a certain way to the daughter of a Yale professional who was assumed to be college track, who lived in an upper middle class neighborhood, everywhere I went, the conversation was, where are you going to school? Not, are you going to college, right? It was, where are you going to college? It was a remarkable change. And seeing that change was a shock to my system. I didn't understand, again, why some people took it for granted that they could go to college. Some people took it for granted that they lived in colonial homes, 3 bedrooms, and 3 cars, and I had spent years searching for quarters just to get on the bus. I didn't understand. I was confused.